Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my usual video leading up to the next season for Game of Thrones. We just have a couple more seasons left. In this one, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Game of Thrones Season 7 and who I think will survive, who will be killed off. Let's do our death predictions. Spoiler warning if you're not caught up on Game of Thrones up to the end of Season 6. So, as we know, Season 7 unfortunately is pushed back a bit. Looks like it's going to be delayed at least for a few months so that they can film more in the winter time, fall to winter, so it will look more like winter is actually here instead of winter is coming and eventually it's going to get there. Now winter is here, as we heard Sansa say. So, we don't know exactly when we're going to get to see Game of Thrones Season 7, but nonetheless, let's give our thoughts on who we think is going to survive the season, who we think is going to be killed off. So, with this one, this is a little tricky because the finale for Season 6 had so many character deaths. I mean, if you just look at King's Landing and you look at the explosion, in addition you had Walder Frey, in addition you had Ramsay. I mean, there was a lot of character deaths near the end of Season 6, even though most of the season, except for Hodor, you didn't have too many at the end. And, well, the beginning, too, you had some huge ones for sure. So I'm thinking for Season 7, we probably won't see any major character deaths in the first couple episodes, but it being most likely a 7-episode season, with Season 8 most likely being 6 episodes to give us our final 13, which has been said by Dan and Dave. It looks like to me probably the first few episodes we probably wouldn't get any, and most likely in the second half of Season 7 we'll probably get a few. I'm thinking for Season 7 we're probably looking at, in terms of factions, we're most likely looking at Cersei's faction getting obliterated. I mean, if you look at who she is opposed by now, so you have, of course, who's important with regards to her side? Well, we have Cersei, we have Qyburn, we have undead Gregor, zombie Gregor, basically. We have Jaime, and, I mean, that's... It's crazy to think that that's really the only characters in King's Landing that are really still alive that really matter for the story. But, I mean, you could probably think of a few others, but those are the main ones. And all of them, I would think, in this season, Season 7, are probably going to be wiped out, unless it gets pushed into Season 8. Which I think with Season 8 we'll probably most likely see the White Walkers. So I would think that Cersei, will be killed off in Season 7 at some point. Qyburn, Gregor, and Jaime is a tricky one. I'd like to see Jaime survive because I don't really hate Jaime. But I'm trying to think of how could they work it so that Cersei and the others are killed and Jaime most likely survives. So I feel like with Jaime, I feel like he should survive, but I don't know what they would do with him is the tricky part. So you guys can write your comments below. Do you think that they're all going to be killed? Do you think that maybe they'll win and none of them would be killed? That would be quite the twist. It just seems like everything is set up for her whole side to be shut down. Maybe Jaime imprisoned or something like that, because of course Tyrion, he likes his brother, so maybe Tyrion can save him, and he can just be locked up or something, and then Tyrion can go visit him or something rather than him being killed. But definitely Cersei and Qyburn and Gregor, definitely they need to be put down for sure. Let's go north. So we have Jon. So I think Jon is pretty easy. Since he's been already killed off once in the series, I think Jon is probably going to survive through the entire rest of the show. Season 7, Season 8, I think Jon is a long-term survivor. Plus, he needs to face off against the Night's King. We had the face-off with them, too, before in the series. So they had the, alpha on alpha staring at each other type of face-off. That's got to be resolved, and I would think that Jon will defeat the Night's King in Season 8, and most likely the Night's King and the White Walkers will be killed. There should be a lot of casualties on the, on our Survivor side during that battle in Season 8, but most likely Jon will win, and the living will win, and the White Walkers will be wiped out, including the Night's King at that point. We also have with him, of course, Sir Davos. I could see them killing off Sir Davos, in the next couple seasons. I mean, he's a great character. He's very likable, but maybe in the battle against the White Walkers, he'll be killed off. He won't survive. We have Sam, who right now is kind of out of place. He's off and he's training and doing his thing. It'll be interesting to see if he'll even make it back by the time the battle starts in Season 8. Because if you look at Arya's story arc, she was training for a while, and Sam just kind of got there. So we've only got 13 episodes left. How much growth and training and all this, they're going to have to do some time skips with him, I would think, to make sense for him to travel back to Westeros and be reunited with Jon by the end of the show. And I think he'll probably survive, and we'll probably see him back in Westeros in season 8, most likely. Probably not season 7, because he's got some training to do, and we only have 7 episodes or 6 episodes, however it turns out, most likely. So I'm thinking Sam and all, his I guess you'd call it his family at this point, Gilly and that. I think they'll probably all survive. They should be fine. Same with Jon. Then we have, of course, Sansa. So Sansa is probably also a long-term series survivor, even though I really don't know what they're going to do with her, in the next couple seasons either. But she's part of Jon's team. It'd be weird to see her killed off. And I think she needs to see Arya once more. The sisters need to be reunited. I think that would make for a great scene. And so I think Sansa will also survive the series for the most part. Let's go with Daenerys' side of things. So we have Daenerys. Again, I think she's a long-term survivor. It is Game of Thrones, though, so they could throw us a curveball, and after all that, have her be, assassinated or something. It'd just be so weird, though, after all the seasons and build-up. But again, it's Game of Thrones. You never know for sure. But it seems like in the end, and same with Ramsay and Jon, the good will defeat the bad in the end. It's just that, early on in the series, for sure, with Game of Thrones, we had a lot of our characters that were good guys actually lose, the Starks and Robb and Eddard. But I don't think the series is going to end on that note. Could be wrong. If they end it with the bad guys winning, that would kind of leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth. If the Night's King was to beat Jon, if the Lannisters were to defeat all the rest of their enemies, I just don't see the story ending that way. So I'm thinking, of course, that Daenerys and pretty much her whole side should survive. I mean, Daenerys would survive, I would think. Tyrion, a fan favorite for sure. Peter Dinklage, he's got to make it, man. I mean, I can't see them killing off Tyrion. Or if they do, it would have to be at like the very end. I really hope that they don't, and I don't think they will. We have, of course, with Olenna. She's so old at this point. She doesn't really care about surviving anymore. But I think in terms of her getting retribution for what has happened, she needs to survive for at least a season, and then maybe she can rest. So if Cersei is killed, I would say after that she'd probably be okay to rest, and maybe the old age will do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if she just makes it throughout the whole series as well. This is kind of crazy, right? The Sand Snakes. So as far as they go, I mean, to me it feels like their part of the story is basically over. They're contributing to Daenerys' cause against the Lannisters. They're doing what they can to help. But as far as what happened with Doran, I don't know. I don't really think he'll ever be avenged. That felt wrong, what happened. And you tend to think that that he has to be avenged in some way. But I mean, it's just such a separate section of the story from everybody else, location and everything. And they seem to be on the right side, right, with Daenerys. So with them, maybe I could see them being killed off, but maybe they'll just kind of fade into the background and will kind of survive on mute and not part of the core central story. Baelish. So, let's go for Varys too. Varys, I think, should be fine. I think Varys will survive the story as well too. Him and Tyrion's conversations are too interesting to see them kill off Varys so they don't have a great moment near the end. Baelish. So Baelish is a very interesting one. A lot of things have happened with Baelish where he seemed like he had a plan, but so many other things have happened. He's got to be confused as to what he wants to do and what's going to happen now. It seems like to him, Sansa and him is probably never going to happen. You have Jon in the north and that, so you have Daenerys coming. Baelish may survive, but he may want to change his goals so that he doesn't want to take over. If he takes action, if he moves on trying to either become king of the north in place of Jon or, king in the south, the King's Landing, I think he's going to be killed off if he makes a move. But we have to see that conditional first before we can say, I think, if he's going to survive or not. If he makes a move, I'm predicting he's going to die. If he doesn't, I think he'll survive and he'll just kind of change his goals. And he seems to be smart enough to me to realize that maybe what he wants is not really what he wants, right? So then we have the Hound. The Hound is a character that already we thought was dead and now is alive. So I tend to think characters like that, including Jon, are probably going to survive out the series as well too. I mean, we can see the Hound be killed at some point, but he's already almost been killed, of course, him and Brienne. So I'm thinking for the both of them, they'll probably be fine. They'll probably survive through the series. I just kind of see it going that way. Arya, same thing with Arya. I mean, I can't see them killing off Arya either. Can you guys? I just can't see that. So I think that Arya will probably survive out the show as well. Theon. So Theon and Yara, of course, they're on the right side now, but Theon has been through a lot. I almost feel like maybe they want to put him out of his misery by the end of the show, and something will happen, and then maybe he'll be killed off. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if he survived as well too. Yara, I think that she'll probably survive. They kind of have to best their uncle first, I think. And I don't think she's really done anything wrong or hurt anybody really. So throughout the series, she's been a good guy all the way through. So I think for her, she'll probably survive on Daenerys' side, or maybe she could be killed in battle against Euron or with King's Landing and whatever happens there. And that could be an idea for who will side with Cersei. Could be Euron, since of course his niece and nephew now have gone with Daenerys. He can't do that, so maybe he will side with the Lannisters, and that could be interesting to see if he teams with them, and then they get into the battle against Daenerys and the dragons on the water, and they have more ships, and that could be interesting to see with the Greyjoys. But I do think that Euron will be killed either late season 7 or season 8. I do feel like the bad guys are going to lose in this one. But he's got some time left because he's a fairly new villain I see right now. Edmure's still out there somewhere. For him, again, he's the type that could be put out of his misery, but we'll have to see, because he is still on the side of the Starks, and right now they're dominant in the North. So as a result, he's been through quite a bit. He might just make it through the series. We'll see. Then we have Bran. So Bran, I could see them killing him off in the finale, maybe season 8. I like the prediction that since he was touched by the Night's King, if he passes the wall, they can also pass the wall, and then maybe that will have a part in the battle. But I do think that could be interesting if he was killed off, because of course he is paralyzed and everything. It's not like it's easy for him to get around, but he is the three-eyed raven now too, so he's kind of got those powers. So they may want to keep him alive for flashback sequences and adding in some additional content, which I am a fan of. I'm not complaining that they do it. I think it's been great so far in their usage of using him to get those visions and the additional kind of prequel type content to Game of Thrones from A Song of Ice and Fire. Cold Hands, Benjen, he's pretty much dead already. I would think, yeah, he's probably going to be killed off at some point before the series ends, be it either on screen or off screen. He's probably going to be killed by the White Walkers, the Night's King, eventually. Maybe a good setup in season 8 for the final battle if they kill him or something like that. Could be interesting. And then, of course, the Night's King at the end, I do think he's going to be killed. And there's obviously more characters in the series than that, but those are the main ones. So, for the most part, I'm thinking that most of our good guys are going to survive. The bad guys are probably going to be wiped out by the end, and that will finish Game of Thrones on a happy note versus kind of what we've seen in season 6, where you've had Cersei and the Lannisters have pretty much won. Again, so eventually they got to go down. I can see it being set up, and that's what I think is going to happen by the end of the series, give or take a few, good guy deaths here and there as part of the cause, like Theon and that. So let's see what happens, man. I can't wait for Season 7 to return. Such a shame it's been delayed, but definitely going to continue on with the videos as usual, guys. Send me any questions you have for the Q&As. Write your death predictions below. Who do you think is going to survive? Who do you think is going to die? Do you think I'm off base with this? Do you think Game of Thrones might not have a happy ending in that fashion, and that they could throw us a curveball and Daenerys may not win? Write your comments below, guys. Let me know what you think. And if you like the video, please don't forget to thumb it the hell up. You can also share it through if you've got a Facebook. Share that shit through to Facebook. Favorite. And also bottom left to subscribe for more Game of Thrones videos and my reviews for the final 2 seasons of one of the greatest shows ever on television, Game of Thrones. That's it for this one, guys. See you again real soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See ya.
You better subscribe.